Greetings from this beautiful holy place of Bethlehem in Palestine. This is the third in a series of such videos about Palestinians. I'm Brother Peter Bray, a De La Salle brother who grew up in Waitra in Taranaki and came here to Palestine at the end of 2008 to be Vice-Chancellor here at Bethlehem University. In these videos I've been commenting on the statement issued by the New Zealand Catholic Bishops' Conference back in July 2022 regarding Palestine. The bishops mentioned that it is a matter of great anguish for them that the Holy Land continues to be a place of turmoil, of bloodshed and of fear for many of the people who live here, but most particularly for the ordinary Palestinian people. I'm particularly concerned about how that atmosphere of bloodshed, fear and turmoil the bishops mentioned impacts on our students. In recent weeks and months, that has become worse. There has been a marked increase in violence, and by some measures, it's the deadliest year in the Israel-Palestinian conflict since back in 2005. It is clear to me and to many others that violence has not worked to bring peace. Because here, the Israelis are so much more powerful, have so many more resources with which to oppress the Palestinians. Therefore, the desire to strike back is very real. And there are now groups forming in various parts of Palestine to do just that, reacting to the oppression that people are experiencing. And I can understand why some people want to do that, given the experience they are having. The challenge, as I see it, is how do we respond to such threats? Bethlehem University is here to serve the Palestinian people through education. We are an unashamedly Catholic university in the midst of this situation that I've just been talking about. So the question I keep asking is, where then does the gospel message fit? It's very clear to me and to many others that Jesus was clearly a non-violent man, and he asked us to follow him. So the question I am confronted with is, what does it mean to adopt a non-violent position in the midst of all that's going on here? I'd have to say, I don't know what it is like to be a Palestinian here in this situation. I know about them, I know what they are having to endure, but I don't know what it feels like, for example, to have a son, a brother, a husband, a friend killed by the Israeli military or by settlers. I don't know what it's like to be arrested without any idea of why or how long it's going to be. I don't know what it's like to be one of our students coming from East Jerusalem to Bethlehem University each day and wondering whether the bus is going to be stopped, whether I'm going to be interrogated or arrested or have a gun put in my face. I don't know what it's like to watch my home being demolished by the Israeli military. I don't know what it's like for a farmer to walk out of my house in the morning and see hundreds of olive trees that I've planted and nurtured over several years, all cut down overnight by a settler raid. I don't know what that feels like. And so it goes on. So I have to be careful not to arrogantly tell Palestinians what they should be doing. I know that for me to be present to suffering and to touch suffering with love, that it might dissolve into love, means for me to be grounded in the peace that is not dependent on the outcome of the efforts. I believe deeply that it is worthwhile serving the Palestinian people through education here at Bethlehem University, no matter what the situation turns out to be. When Pope Francis visited Palestine in 2015, he stood in solidarity with the Palestinian people when he put his hand on that wall. And he has said, may we dedicate ourselves prayerfully and actively to banish violence from our hearts, words and deeds, and to become non-violent people and to build non-violent communities that care for our common good." End of quote. The lived experience of harm endured by Palestinians on many levels can tempt people here to dehumanize all Israelis and to treat them with contempt. But what Dr. Martin Luther King says is that to love our enemies means seeing every human being as a sister and a brother and doing everything we can not to harm them, but to actively love them. This non-violent love does not mean lying down and rolling over. It is not passive. It is not succumbing to evil, but is responding to evil with good. It means making active non-violence a way of life. It means being strong and organising resistant campaigns. It means orchestrating the influence resources that are available to bring about change. So what does all this mean here in Palestine? There is no easy answer, but to respond to violence with more violence is certainly not the answer. I think it means we need to non-violently resist by doing the things that make up our daily life, to resolutely carry on and show that there are things worth doing despite the oppression. Here at Bethlehem University, we are doing just that. Professor Mazen Kumsia has this to say about such resistance.
Everything we do is a form of resistance. So we say to exist is to resist, and I wrote a book about this called Popular Resistance in Palestine. For example, these girls going to school in Bethlehem as such is a form of resistance. Or these girls in Hebron trying to get to their class, the soldier prevents them and they sit in the street and have their class. Or when we climb walls, or we protest against the walls, or we tear down the walls, these are all forms of non-violent resistance. At Bethlehem University, of course, we are engaged in this kind of resistance because when our students come to classes, they are engaged in non-violent resistance because they go through checkpoints. So we do an amazing job at Bethlehem University in a form of nonviolent resistance by graduating our students, educating them for the future so that they use their minds instead of using weapons. They use their minds to challenge the occupation. And we have many, many ways at Bethlehem University where we engage in those kinds of nonviolent resistance.
The question I'll be asking New Zealanders when I'm down there in January and February is, what can you do to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people in resisting injustice in this holy land and bringing peace? So as we approach Christmas, from this little town of Bethlehem where Jesus was born, I wish you God's blessing as you celebrate Christmas in New Zealand. Shukran. Thank you.